Okay.
Welcome, everybody, to the Streakers Island podcast, live, better late than never edition. It is I, Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed sports analyst, and we have a jam-packed pool of talented studs on the show tonight. Of course, we have Mr. More for your money. Woo! We have Chazzy, who puts the capital E in CEO, 5.33 update pending. We have the most dashing of them all, Lane Dashko. Like, look at that. It's just too damn dashing. And we are joined by friend of the program, Mr. Alex.
Welcome to the island, Alex.
Mr.
Thank you, guys. Happy to be here.
You know what? We really need to start sending people like those things with the flowers that go around the neck. It's not a wreath.
Where are they? Hulas or something like that?
Yeah. We need to start sending those off. But
call a new Afala.
So,
like I said, I'll take a couple coconuts.
I'm assuming are well aware.
Yeah, make sure no one's home when you knock on it, though.
As soon as you guys are aware, the Toronto Maple Leafs just finished off the rest of their pressers, ending with Brad Treliving. The biggest quote from Treliving saying, this team needs to change his DNA. The DNA of this team has kind of been an issue over the last couple of years, I think. And I think Brad Treliving, his hands are no longer tied, right? He's got that ability to start making moves. So if he's going to start making moves, I want to ask you boys this. Chazzy, I see you got the popcorn ready already. Very good.
Boys got the nice bag of Orville ready to go. Extra butter.
We're not sponsored by Overrun Bacher, but we could be. I would say Matthew Knies has got to be the biggest move the Leafs have to do. You got to lock this guy up long term. He's a unicorn type player, right? And Alex,
he's half horse, half man.
Say that again, Dan.
He's half horse, half man.
Okay, Mr. On Company Time. Alex, you're wearing your Nazem Kadri jersey, and doesn't a guy like Matthew Knies kind of remind you of what the Leafs had in a guy like Kadri?
I think you just need that level of consistency with him. He's not always, I guess he is always one of the more consistent guys on the team. I mean, that grit, that grind, always in the corners, always battling for pucks. It's what the team needs more of. Not less. It would be really nice to see them lock him up to something long-term. They've had a hard time doing that with a lot of the guys of late. So I would really, really expect that to be the priority number one. And it sounds like it is from Brad's post media availability.
It really does. Because when you heard from Brad Treliving there, he said, like, I want this deal done tomorrow. Like, basically, like the sooner it's done, the better.
What are the financials?
Dan, you've talked about Matthew Knies' financials. And I think you're out to lunch with what you think he's going to get, but the floor is yours.
Well, here's the thing. Matthew Knies had a very cute season, and all the power to him. And a cute playoffs. He played very, very well. And he did have a sophomore slump, but usually people have a sophomore slump. So all good thoughts. The thing is, he is not worth, in my opinion anyway, not that it really matters, but that's why you're watching, he's not worth for $10 million, whatever people have said, because just like Captain Underpants and all the other Maple Leafs, he has done nothing. He has made it to the second round of Game 7 in the Game 7 in the second round. Good bleeping job. We want more than that as the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think Matthew Knies takes a gamble, and I think the right number is 6.5. Now, the reason why I say 6.5 is I think he's going to sign for less money, but instead of a long-term contract, he's going to sign for a shorter-term contract. I think he'll sign for 6.5 about 2 or 3 years per year. And then with that, it gives the Leafs more cap space to bring in more talent. But on the flip note for Matthew Knies, if he's on the team for a lower contract and allows to bring in better teammates, he will have a better year. And you think about it, You look at guys like Knives and all the hockey players, really. Why would you sign a long-term contract? Because the NHL salary cap keeps going higher and higher and higher. And as the salary cap goes higher and higher and higher, the max contracts will go higher and higher. So if you're Matthew Knives and saying here, I would take 6.5 for a couple years because it's a humongous pay raise of what I was getting. And from that, taking that gamble, if I could get good line mates, instead of getting 30 goals and 60 points, roughly, he might hit 50 goals and 80 points. And at that point, if you're a 50 goal scorer getting a point a game, you're not worth $8 million anymore. Now you're worth 12 or 14 million. So that's what I would do if I was him. But I don't think he's going to do that.
Now, looking at Matthew Knies' stats here, right? 29 goals, 29 assists, 58 points. Mr. Calculator was pretty much on the money on his statistics. However, in the playoffs, pretty consistent, right? From what he was in the regular season. Assist total went down, but the goals were still there and he was physical.
Not just the goals of when he was getting the goals.
Mr. Dan, I'm going to say this. There's no way Matthew Knies is signing for 6.5. You got to get that out of La La Land. This is how Toronto.
So you think he's worth more than Zach Hyman after he had one good year?
Zach Hyman signed his contract how many years ago? You can't compare them. You're comparing it to, if you want to compare it, you have to look. If Marner apparently is going to get 13.5 in the open market, I'd pay Knies 7.5, 8 million. And I would for
I think it starts at 8x8. If you're looking at long term, I think 8x8 is the starting point, and guys are climbing from there. And if you're Knies, you're looking for 9, maybe 10. And if you're the Leafs, maybe you are trying to do closer to that 6 to 7. But I can't see it.
Yeah, but see, here's what scares me, right? And this is what everyone's missing about on. And I think they made a good point on the radio that, a lot of these players don't really care about these 8-year deals anymore. And like Dan said, the cap is going up so rapidly right now. Players really don't want to take an 8-year deal right now because in 8 years the cap's going to be 130 million or something, right. And instead of getting 8 million, they could get like you said, like instead of getting 8 million, your 8 million becomes 13 million. So I think a lot of players have this ideology now of taking lower years to accentuate their cap so they can keep taking bigger deals. The problem with Matthew Knies, though, for the Leafs right now is they have an awkward window. Do you give him a 3-year bridge deal where his cap can go up, but you can't give him a 5-year deal because what does that do? It walks him right to free agency, and that's what you're doing with Mitch Marner, and that's what you've done with John Tavares. They have to avoid that at all costs. A 5-year deal, I will absolutely throw my computer through a window, and I will do it on StreamYard if it happens. 5 years, absolutely not, cannot happen. No.
Hold on, Lane. You said so 3-year. 5-year walks you to free agency. Walk me through that.
Yeah, because you only get about 6-7 years. It depends on your age, but every 7th or 8th season it becomes like your free agent season. So Matthew Knies would have already had 2. Another 5 gets him to 7, which walks him to free agency, which lets him do this whole song and dance of, I'm going to go talk to teams. I'm going to get this money. You can't do that with Matthew Knies. You have to avoid that at all costs. You have to, everything. So you either give him a 3-year deal at what Dan's saying at 7 million, or I would give him 10 for 8. If he wants 10 for 8, I give him 10 for 8 because I just want this done. I don't want to deal with this 5 years and then he goes to free agency and then you're paying him 15. If you got to pay him 11 now, pay him 11 now. Get him 8. Do what you have to do. Either do 3 years or 8 years, but 5 years cannot happen.
I 100% agree with Mr. Daskal. And I think we're going to see more and more young players doing it this way because it's a smart move to make. It's kind of like the CFL. We're going more and more this way too because the CFL, the cap keeps going higher and higher every year as well. The only way I think you're going to see an 8-year contract nowadays is let's look at someone like John Tavares, someone that's mid-age, okay? And a not hot market wants to get someone like John Tavares. He's 34, 35 right now. They might give him an 8-year contract just to spread out the cap hit. Because, then he'll be in contract until he's 42. But then they could adjust the cap, the average for the cap. And I could see a team like Utah doing that. They want to make a big splash and get a John Tavares. So anyway, I can see someone getting 8-year contracts in the new NHL with the high salary cap is someone that's kind of mid-age or older. All the young guys, I think if they're smart, they're going to do the same thing what Lane said. And if their agents are hopefully saying the same thing. Still, look at Bobby McMahon. He's a prime example of last year of this situation. Bobby McMahon signed for a 2-year deal last year, this time of year, at $1.3 million per. Now he's worth a lot more than that. Now he's a 20-goal guy. Now he's probably worth about 3.5. And if he has another good year next year, it could be worth $4 million. So instead of locking up for $2 million in 8 years, now he can go in, renegotiate, and I'm like, okay, because I took less of a cap hit, I have better line mates, I got 20 goals, now I want this. And as the cap goes up, not just max contracts, but even 20-goal guy contracts, even mid-grade defenseman contracts, they're all going to go up. So I think that's how the future of the NHL is going to be.
But I just think if you're Toronto, the only way I think the only chance you have of getting Nyes on a cheaper contract is if it's a bridge deal. I do agree with Lane. It can't be a 5-year deal. You want it where he's still a restricted. If it's a bridge, you want it where he's still a restricted free agent, so you have a little bit of control on what you can do. But I could see Matthew Nyes. He says he wants to be a Leaf long term. He's been very open about that. Yep. So I wonder if you throw Nyes 8.5 to 9 over 7 years.
More.
You know what? I'm okay with. You guys might think I'm crazy here. I'm more willing to give Matthew Nyes $10 million than Sam Bennett.
Same.
He's a younger. I think Sam Bennett at $10 million is absolutely insane, which is what is rumored to leave.
I love Sam Bennett, but Sam Bennett is not a $10 million.
Sam Bennett's definitely going to get a raise.
Oh, for sure.
Because right now, Sam Bennett is out of contract, and this contract is hitting around that, it's hitting $4.43 million.
He's worth more than that, for sure.
He's going to get more than that because of what he can do in the playoffs. Although, funny enough, 51 points and 25 goals in the regular season.
Yeah, but that's not what you pay.
How many games did he play?
He played almost every game this year.
Yeah, I bet pretty about 80.
I wonder with Florida, do you see them just keeping Brad Marchand, because you can probably lock him up for 4 or 5, and then saying, Toronto, if you want to pay Sam Bennett $10 million, go right ahead. And I think I'm hoping Toronto is going to look at what they've done by locking up all these superstars at these long, big deals with Marner and Tavares, Nylander, Matthews. And I'm even going to throw Morgan Riley in there, as much as I actually think Riley's contract is very fair for what he does in the market.
100%.
You look at these contracts, and maybe they're going to say, you know what, maybe we shouldn't pay Sam Bennett $10 million, because if we let Marner walk at 10.9 and we sign back Sam Bennett, are we really fixing the problem? Right? I get Sam Bennett's a great player, but is it fixing the issue of not having any money for depth? Because the bottom 6 in Toronto was very inconsistent this year. And I think it's because you can't afford. Max Domi was your highest paid bottom 6 forward at around 3.5, who was also very inconsistent, right? If you're going to bring in and improve this team, I've said it from day one. We don't need another $11 million superstar. We need $4 to $7 million good players.
Well, that's the thing. You look at the 2 teams that are in the finals this year. Florida and Edmonton. Why are they there? Because they're at depth forwards.
And it's crazy what Edmonton's been able to find with McDavid and Draisaitl paying them that much and still getting scoring from Connor Brown and Kasperi Kapanen and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Zach Hyman. They got over 12 players with at least 3 goals this playoffs. It's crazy.
So I have a question for everybody here. Just want to throw it out here. So we're talking about what they do with how they approach this free agency, right? Mm-hmm. And if we all want to bring up a good point here, Auston Matthews is on a contract for only 3 more years. He's really only a Leaf for 3 more years before he leaves. So my question to the group is, do you go with Matthew Nyes for 3 years, and then, if it's still you're still on a bumpy road here and Matthews is like, I might want to leave, then do you kind of reassess your roster and say, well, maybe we trade Nyes for draft picks and blow it up? I don't know if you want to go too aggressive here, because if Matthews decides he wants to take a walk on Boulevard of Broken Dreams in 3 years, then we're stuck in the same situation with how do you replace a guy like that? So if I'm the Leafs, I would do what they're talking about here with the rumor from Chris Johnson here, but he's looking at short-term deals on guys who are veterans like a Jamie Benn or a Claude Giroux or a Brad Marchand.
No, Jamie Benn, please.
100% Jamie Benn.
Jamie Benn can't. Why would we get rid of John Tavares, who can't skate, to bring in a winger who can't skate?
Because he's a big mother trucker.
He has been
But that's
terrible.
Brad's MO.
It was
It's Brad's MO. Those are his guys.
But
Yeah,
he was
100%.
terrible in the playoffs. Completely lacked of leadership. And like I could totally see bringing in a guy like Brad Marchand, as much as I just threw up a little bit in my mouth saying that. But I could totally see bringing in a Brad Marchand, or I am going to sing this until the cows come home and Dan thinks I should be his agent. I want Brock Nelson as a Toronto Maple Leaf.
Yeah.
He's the type of guy you need. It's you need veterans that can move.
Yeah.
And Brock Nelson is a veteran that can move and he can score, right? He had 26 goals, 56 points. Yes, it didn't work in Colorado because I think, to be blunt, the roster that Colorado had didn't fit Brock Nelson's style. He was a third liner in Colorado where he was a top liner in the Islanders. You bring him to the Leafs, make him your second line center, and then screw it. Let's bring in Nikolai Ehlers as well, and then go like with Domi, Nelson, Ehlers second line. And then move Nylander up to the top line because Nylander's been screaming to play with better players. That's another thing that's been rumored around, that Nylander in his exit interview reportedly has been saying, like, why am I getting less minutes than these other guys when I'm contributing per minute? I'm contributing more. And he has a good point, right? Like, I mean, let's be honest, in the playoffs, Nylander usually out of the core four is the most visible.
Yep. 100%.
How long is he locked up for?
He's got a 7 year. He's got about another 6 or 7 years. So he's the only one you can actually say is on your team like a actual long time. But so what do you guys think? Do you guys agree with me? They should maybe focus on this 3 year window now and not.
I could see that 3 year window. Absolutely. I really could, because if it doesn't work, then just blow it up.
And that's why I'm saying with Knives, you sign him for 3 year, 6.5 per.
He's not going to take 3 at 6.5.
Chance. After that, let him walk through the cows come home. Who cares?
He's not going to take 3 over 6.5.
Why
would he?
Just ask him. Does he want a paycheck or does he want a Stanley Cup? Make your pick. Because in a salary cap world, that's what you got to do.
You can't say that as a Leaf organization that won a cup since 67.
Once you got a Stanley Cup, then you can go open market and say, hey, I scored 50 goals beside Captain Underpants, got a Stanley Cup, got 80 points, now give me 15. That's what he's going to do.
But I think this is part of the culture problem.
I do agree with Lane.
Oh, there it is.
Lane's idea. Give Lane the circus book.
You're saying that for you to think that Matthew Knies is going to and the Leafs can say, if you want to win a Stanley Cup, we haven't won one since there's been more than 6 bleeping teams. You know, like, okay,
this is our year.
Sam Bennett, take $10 million in Toronto or win in Florida. They can legitimately say that.
I want to give Sam Bennett.
What is Toronto going to say? Hey, do you want to lose to Florida again?
I'm not going to give Sam Bennett 10.
No, but Florida could say that to Sam Bennett because I guarantee you someone will give Bennett between 8 to 10 million.
He's not worth it. He's a second line center at best. He was before the whole Florida thing. He was a fourth line player in Calgary and almost didn't have an NHL job.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the reality of it. I've always loved him, but we are Daryl Sutter too. My guy. He said to trade everyone on that team but Bennett, because everyone else on that team is useless. And what do? They traded the one guy who wasn't useless. But let's be honest here. About 2 years ago, he was a fourth line center. Barry had an NHL job. Barry had an NHL contract under $2 million per year. Now maybe he's a second line center at best. If you're going to start paying second line centers $10 million, you got a real problem.
The Leafs paid John Tavares $11 million. Second line center. Second line center.
And
second.
But it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked.
But we talked about this in a previous show. John Tavares only had 1 point per game playoffs in his entire career. So I want to move on to this point here. Are you bringing back John Tavares? The rumor is he wants $6 million over 3. Is he? If you're telling me Sam Bennett's worth nowhere near, realistically, if you're saying Dan, you're saying what? Sam Bennett's worth 6 to 7.
I'm not putting a number on it quite yet because
you're being a pansy.
No. In my opinion, it depends what he does in the Stanley Cup Finals. If he gets another 3 goals, 5 points, then I'm going to say he's probably worth about 7. But if he goes into the finals and gets danced around Connor McDavid, then no, I don't think he's worth 7.
Anyways, I had to bring that graphic in. But what I'm saying is, let's just say hypothetically Sam Bennett is worth between 6 to 7. Is John Tavares worth the same? Yes, he has more points, but he can't skate. He has terrible playoff history. He's injury prone. He's old. Did I mention he can't skate? It's a skating league, and it's a league that is getting faster and faster by the minute. I'm 50-50, even if Tavares is willing to stay for $3 million if I want him on this team. I am very iffy on it because, and I want to bring up a quote again that Brad Tree Living said. The DNA has to change. So if the DNA has to change, this guy was your captain. Then he was your assistant captain, which, by the way, didn't seem to care that he was no longer the captain anymore, which I thought was bizarre. So if you have a guy like that who just isn't good in the DNA, and you keep saying the DNA, it needs to change, is letting go of Marner enough? And do you also need to let go of John Tavares? Now, we'll talk more about this because Lane has a speculation that literally makes me want to throw out more and think about Brad Marchand in the Toronto Maple Leafs uniform. But if it's me, I don't know if it's the price tag that's the issue with Tavares. I don't know if it's just time to move on. And that's my take.
So if I got a question for you then.
Yeah.
If you're moving on from JT, who are you taking? Right? You said you want Brock Nelson as a 2C. So who's a 3C? Because I think we all can agree Max Domi's a great guy. He's a good player. He's not a 3C. He's not even really a center by trade. So what else is out there? You know, hypothetical. It's Brock Nelson. It's Sam Bennett. Are we going for both? Are we swinging for the fences for all these different guys, or how do we play this?
You just move Scott Laughton to the third line, and you play David Kemp on the fourth. I think Scott Laughton, now that he found a role, I think Laughton, Domi, and McMahon be a hell of a third line. That's a line that can skate. It's a line that can hit. It's a line that can ruffle some feathers. And I think David Kemp, if you don't buy him out, because that's been a rumor as well, if you keep him, David Kemp is a guy that's a very dependable fourth-line center. And if the Leafs are looking for a DNA change, I don't know if they're looking for so much scoring and more physicality. And that third line between McMahon, Laughton, and Domi is a line that could probably get, let's be honest here and say 45, 50 goals a year between the three guys. Bobby McMahon scored 20 this year. Laughton, I think, could be a 15 to 20 goal scorer. And Max Domi, if he just decides to shoot the puck, could be a 10 to 15 goal scorer, right? So I think that's what you could do with the third line. However, you're going to have enough cap space. You could go and give Matt Duchene a call and say, make him your third line center. But Lane, you have been very patient. Alex, we'll go to Lane, and then I want Alex's reaction on Matt Duchene.
I wonder what Alex is going to think of my opinion. And there's a guy he's the guy on free agency, and I don't think you'll have to pay him a lot to bring him in. And I know it's a gamble, but everyone talks about how you make gambles, and you got to, Treliving actually brought this up. He said, sometimes you got to make a gamble to make a play, right?
Yeah.
What about this gamble? What if you throw your little dice on the table and you go for Jonathan Toews? And I'm thinking about bringing Jonathan Toews in at a 2-3 year deal at $4 million. He's got the playoff. He's got the intensity. He's got the heart. He wants to play. This guy's a playoff mentality player. He puts heart, soul, emotion, and everything, blood, sweat, and tears on the line. I think he would be a fantastic third line center for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I'm not giving him $4 million though. I'm going to give him $2 million at max. I mean, last time he played, he didn't play well, and he hasn't played over a year. So he's
I like
for the salary. By the way, I love the idea of Jonathan Toews.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
900,000. He's a Max Pacioretty type contract. Hasn't played in a couple of years. A 1 year deal.
Yep.
Down to the minimum.
And then once he proves himself, Servant gives him $4 million.
And see, and you know what, Dylan Robson in the comments here, Jonathan Toews could be a good center to grab. Will be cheap to pay. And yeah, that's the thing with Jonathan Toews. I think if you can get him cheap, I don't think $4 million is cheap enough, to be honest with you, Lane.
That's a Blackhawks fan saying that.
Dylan is a Blackhawks fan. So, Dylan, if you want to chime in the comments, what do you think Jonathan Toews is worth? But, I'm looking at Toews, and I think at most I'm paying him $2 million.
So you're telling me
even that's pushing it.
No, Jacob, you're telling me his list is the Jets, the Avs, the Maple Leafs, the Stars, and the Oilers. You're going to only pay him $900K. He's just going to say, bye-bye, I'm going.
All those teams aren't going to pay him $900K. Dallas has no money. Edmonton has no money. Winnipeg has no money. Toronto will have money, but they want to do more than bring in Jonathan Toews and tell Marner bye. That's not going to fix it.
He feels like the 2025-26 Hakanpää guys. I don't think we've got any confidence. There's no, I know he's put a lot of work in. He's saying he's healthy. He's ready to go. Hakanpää said the same thing. We had a lot of trouble getting any information on where that ended up. So until you know what you've got out of that guy, I think the reality is you're right. He's probably going to command, maybe 1.8, 1.9. He can even get a little over $2 million. But anything more than that, you got to walk away. It's just not worth it.
Yeah,
I agree. And I like the idea. I just don't like the salary for what you're saying, Lane.
What if you can get him on like a deal where, like, if it doesn't work out, you can bury his contract in the minors, like what they did with Ryan Reeves. Ryan Reeves. They pay, what you did with Ryan Reeves, right? You give him a contract to say, look, if this doesn't work out, we're putting you in the HL and you're making $800K and it doesn't cap against the cap. And also, good, if he gets hurt, you pell him, put him on LTIR for the year. You treat him as a Merc Stone. You go, whoops, you're going on LTIR, and then the playoffs come. Hey, Jonathan Toews, we haven't seen in 8 months. Come play for us now. No, but I mean, like,
so that's
maybe 1 year I could see, maybe 1 year, but I would compete. This is a
I
guy.
agree with Dylan.
I understand his injury history, but this guy is a playoff player. You want to talk about
I'm
guys
not disputing
who have
that.
heart and soul. You guys do not have a player on this team that when you're down 1-0, when you're in the trenches, and when you're down this series, this whole team quits. This whole team cries like you're a 3-year-old child in preschool. I want someone who actually cares. I want someone who wears the jersey with pride. I'm sick and tired of hearing, oh, we lost. Oh, we are losing. Oh, it's 1-0. I'm sick of it. I want someone who wears the jersey. Jonathan Toews wears a jersey.
Kathy's like that Michael Jackson meme.
You know what, Lane? I love the idea. And I got to say, I love the passion right off the hop.
Oh, 100%.
I'm on Robson's side here on what you pay him for what you bring the grit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what's going to
Gotta bring the grit.
Absolutely.
You know what's going to get passionate when we talk Leafs about me. It's the passion's coming out.
So now I want to ask you guys, if you're bringing in Jonathan Toews, are you really going to pull out the DeLorean and try to get Patrick Kane to come here and hope for some Showtime Toews magic all over again? I'd be all for it. Patrick Kane's still a decent player.
I think
if you can play him in your bottom six, a third line guy, scored 21 goals this year. He's a good. I don't know. I wouldn't be against it.
I think that
if
what are you worried
Chassie had his hand up, he's being
go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I think the concern you're having, and it's this age thing, right? This team has a habit, and you look at the draft depth, you look at the prospect depth. I mean, you got Easton Cowan and a couple of guys that are biting, but beyond that, there's not a lot. So hanging your hat on everybody in their mid-30s and all of these guys that, I mean, yeah, they are good when they're on, but can you guarantee they're going to be on? Do you have 40, 50, 60 games out of each of them? If you have a deep playoff run, I'd be worried about that more than anything at this point. It's just a lot of guys with a lot of miles.
Lane, you have someone who agrees with you in the comments.
Don't want to wear the jersey.
And Lane is right. I agree with him. 100% right. I agree with him. Needs someone to wear the jersey and not cry. That's where this is where I get very torn, because I can see what Robson's saying. I see what Lane's saying. But truthfully, I can also see what Alex is saying about bringing in all these older guys. I wonder if do you need guys more in like their late 20s to early 30s and not guys who are more looking at walkers than they are new skates?
Here's $1 million question.
I don't have $1 million. Sorry, Dan. Okay, Dan, go ahead.
$1 million question being a Maple Leaf fan. If this was any other franchise, I 100% agree with Alex is saying. The point is, this team has not won over 50 years. We don't care if we win the Stanley Cup 5 years from now. We need a Stanley Cup now. And if it means getting mid guys in their 30s now, and we suck 15 years from now, so be it. Look at Toronto Raptors, prime example. They suck now, and they'll suck for a while, but they got the championship out of it. We have to do what the Raptors did.
No, I think you can find good players that aren't so close to getting the walkers. Brock Nelson. I'm gonna keep talking about Brock Nelson. He's 33.
Oh yeah, I
agree. Been on multiple deep playoff runs.
Yeah.
Right. You look at the Islander team in 2019 and 2020, and 2019, 2020, and 2020, 2021. Both of those teams went to the third round, and let's be honest, they should not have went to the third round. They should not have given the Tampa Bay Lightning as much hell as they did. And they did because players like Brock Nelson found a way to elevate. If you can bring in Brock Nelson, right now he's getting 6. If you could get him around that, I'll be honest, I would rather pay Brock Nelson 6 to 7 than Sam Bennett 10. And
I agree.
I think Sam Bennett, if it's $10 million, just be like, hey bud, have a nice life.
Yeah, literally.
and
Yeah.
go get a guy like Brock Nelson. Or we've had viewers in the program, friends of the program, talk a lot about Nikolai Ehlers. This is a young guy with a lot of upside who I don't think he gets enough credit in Winnipeg. So he's going to be an unrestricted free agent for the first time in his career. He's currently at a $6 million cap hit. I mean, I think he's going to get more than 6, but if you can get him at 8 to 9 on a bridge,
Ehlers is hard to say because of the injuries. That's his only downfall.
Gets hurt a
I
lot.
think if he was healthy, I think he's a $9 million player all day long. But he hasn't.
I would give Ehlers 8 to 9 before I'd give Sam Bennett 10, though.
Well, I agree with that. But
are we looking?
What the market is?
Are we looking too small? Are we looking too small? Is there a trade out there that makes more sense? I mean, Dan brings up Kawhi. Kawhi was not a free agent signing, right? You're always going to overpay in that open market. Who's out there? What team is looking to make a big shakeup? Who needs to make a change? I mean, I don't know. Is New Jersey, New York? Maybe it's the Rangers. Are they looking to maybe move JT Miller again? That didn't work. Are you looking at options out of New Jersey? Is there anybody there that doesn't make sense? Could you start poaching guys on other teams? Like, I think at some point you have to have a conversation. Like, the free agent market for the center depth is not. It's not the best, right? JT is one of the best options, and we've all agreed. Well, we don't all agree, but there's conversation that maybe he shouldn't be the one. And if that's the case, like if you're going to swing for the fences, there's got to be a trade out there that makes more sense, right? And move these prospects for other things.
That has absolutely nothing to do with centers, but it does have something to do with a position that I've argued the Leafs have been missing for many, many years in the franchise caliber. I'd like you to look over my shoulder and see my autographed Curtis Joseph jersey. I have argued he is the last franchise goalie the Toronto Maple Leafs have had, and it was the last time the Leafs went to the conference finals. Jake Ottinger was just completely embarrassed in Dallas. He doesn't have a no move yet. I don't think we see Jake Ottinger play another game as a Dallas Star.
No.
Let's go get him.
I agree.
I'm sorry. I am not agreeing with Dan, who says Joseph Woll was the reason why you only scored 4 goals in the last 3 games. But Joseph Woll was not good enough, and Anthony Stolarz could not stay healthy. Like, I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
I don't think you blame Jake Ottinger for a power play goal and a breakaway and then being pulled when the coach was just mad because someone pissed in his Wheaties. Go bring in a guy like Jake Ottinger, trade Joseph Woll, and I hate doing this, but I agree with Dan. You got to win now and a couple draft picks and bring in a true franchise goaltender. You have the cap space to do it. Every year, you think about the Leafs playoff runs. Who have been our goalies? This year was Samsonov and Woll. Not Samsonov and Woll. It was Stolarz and Woll. Then it was Samsonov and Woll. Years before it was what? Campbell and Anderson and Campbell. You look back at the goalie depth, James Reimer. Excuse me. As much as I like James Reimer, not a franchise goalie, right? No. So do we actually need a franchise goalie? I've heard people say Connor Hellebuyck. He has a no move. He likes Winnipeg. He owns a lot of sweaters.
Probably the only person that does.
So he's staying in Winnipeg. Get that out of your head. But Jake Ottinger is a legitimate franchise goalie that I think is going to be on the market. Yeah, I know that doesn't fix your center depth, but does it maybe fix the problem of just having a back-breaking goal in a game where you just can't have it?
No, you know what? As much as I do like Jake Ottinger, I feel like he's 50-50 too. You look at how many times, if he's got a stat where it's like if he doesn't allow a goal or 2 in 40 minutes, he wins 90 games. But if he allows 1 goal in the first period, he loses 80%. He's very up and down.
I'll go miss the calculator.
Yeah. Yeah, and now he makes $8 million too. You're not even now you're giving $8.5 million to Jake Ottinger, who, let's be honest, is sometimes he's really hot and sometimes he's really not. Like, I actually don't mind the Leafs goaltending because I think it's good enough. Because if you get but you said, Jacob, how many times it's not their fault that they can't score when it matters. Like, Joseph Woll did not play fantastic, but his team literally lied down. And
Joseph Woll was terrible, dude.
No, he wasn't. Dan, the team doesn't. Here's the issue: the team doesn't. Alex, let me agree with me here. This team doesn't play if it has a 5, a 6, or a 7 in the series. They don't play. They don't care.
No, they usually show up for game 6 to go to 7 to break our hearts again because they
got to give us one of them, just enough that we feel like there's a shot. That's all you're looking for, just one.
Treliving literally said in his press conference himself, his words, when the series gets tough, they aren't tough enough to do it. They don't have the mentality to bring the Stars. He said when Stars are good, they're calmest at the tough areas. These guys are not calm when it gets to these areas. They fold like a cheap tent that you bought on Temu, and they don't know what to do. They sit there like, oh, we don't know what to do. It's game 7. We don't know how to. By now, you guys should be game 7 experts. You've had like 30 of them in the last 8 years. Figure it out.
See, Chazzy's back to the popcorn.
No, but my point is, I'm sick and tired of hearing how it's.
Yeah.
I've had to listen to this for 7 years. How it's this guy's fault. It's this guy's fault. How it's Samsonov's fault. How it's Wall's fault. How it's the 7th defenseman's fault. It's been the same. What did I say the 800th time? It's been 4 guys that have never done anything. I'm sick and tired of all of them because 4 guys, when it gets time, when we need these guys to show up and put their heart and soul in the ice, they never have. They haven't done it a single time. I'm sick and tired of it. That's why we need a DNA change. That's why we got to get rid of Mitch Marner. We got to get rid of John Tavares. We got to take it and throw it away like bye-bye. Like no more. I'm done with it. Those 2 got to go. Bring in guys that have hole. Bring in guys like Sam Bennett. I would rather have Sam Bennett because at least he cares. At least he's going to do something dirty. At least he's going to do something to change the series. If the goalie's good, he'll punch him in the head and knock him out for the rest of the series. Bring guys in who do things in the playoffs that make the series harder for the other teams. Get guys who have playoff exposure that in games 6, 5, 6, and 7 that are going to go out there and be like, no, we're not going to lose. You're going to lose. I like to quote of Shores. He says, I don't want to win. I hate to lose. Get guys that hate losing. Change the DNA. Then we can win. Then it doesn't matter who your goalie is, who your 7th defenseman is, who the guy you're paying on the bench, who's sitting in the press box. When you have a team that actually shows up and cares, then you'll win a Stanley Cup. This isn't rocket science. You look at Edmonton. They have Jess Skinner. Jess Skinner barely played all year. He comes into a big game. He scores. He gets an assist. You got Kasperi Kapanen. That team's bought in. Florida, when they need someone, they take some from the AHL. AJ Greer, he shows up. Just get people that show up, and the problem is solved. That's it.
Nah, I agree.
However, I am going to rebuttal a little bit here.
Oh, come on.
What is one
There's so much
thing-
effort in that speech book.
Okay, but Florida's made it to the Stanley Cup Finals in back-to-back years. Who do they have in net? Sergei Bobrovsky.
Yeah,
Say what you want about Stuart Skinner, but when he is good, he either will get a shutout or let in 6.
Yeah.
But when he is good, he is very good. To talk back to Tree Living's presser, he also said the game completely got lost when Joe Woll let in the first goal. I'm not even saying the goal was Joseph Woll's fault. And Lane, I agree with you. If you run it back and just bring in Jake Ottinger, this team will get booted out in the second round again.
Yeah,
Or maybe even the first. It depends if we win the division or if we face Florida first round or not. But I do think you bring in a guy like Jake Ottinger and it just stabilizes the goaltending position. And I also wonder if Ottinger plays less games in the regular season, is he fresher by the third round? This was a conversation we had on the island, I believe, right after Winnipeg got eliminated. So Jake Ottinger this year played 58 games going into the playoffs, right? This isn't the NHL anymore where goalies play 70 games anymore. Look how good Anthony Stolarz was going into the playoffs before he got hurt. He did not play a lot of games this year.
He only played 38 to something like that.
So what I'm saying is you bring in Jake Ottinger and you only play Ottinger 47 to 50 games. You play Stolarz the rest.
100%.
And what that does, it gives you 2 fresh goalies going into the playoffs. Because if we look, the Vezina caliber goaltenders who all played a lot of games this year in the playoffs struggled at times. We look at Darcy Kemper. Now, mind you, it's against this Edmonton Oilers team that literally nobody can stop. When they get on a roll, they get on a roll. But then you go to Connor Hellebuyck, same thing. Although I thought Hellebuyck in the last game for the Jets played great. But then you look at a guy like Calvin Pickard, who came in very fresh for the Oilers and went 6-0. And you're starting to see it. I don't think Stuart Skinner played a heck of a lot of hockey going into the playoffs, and now he's going on a deep run again. But Bobrovsky, actually, I don't believe played as many games as Jake Ottinger. So I just think you bring in a guy like Ottinger, play him a little less in the regular season, get him ready to go for the playoffs. But in the playoffs, this guy can really compete. You
could play less than 59 games?
Sorry?
Play less than 59 games?
If I'm Jake Ottinger, I'm playing him like 50.
Yeah, play Ottinger 50 and Stolarz 30.
Well, that would equal 2 games left.
No, roughly, right?
I think we're getting lost in the parts that aren't the issue, though. I mean, I got to back up Lane here. Like the guys, when it came down to it, yeah, I think Joe Wool has his moments, and sure, maybe he's not always the most consistent. But we're saying this: the guy had a 2-0 shutout in Game 6, right? Game 6, the whole team collapsed, and the answer,
Game 7.
right? The answer is not, oh well, we should change out the goalie. I mean, don't get me wrong. If the opportunity presents itself and you can go get Ottinger, he requests a trade because he and Pete DeBoer are done. That's an opportunity. But I think at the end of the day, you've got to focus on the big thing. And the big thing is the center depth isn't there. You're missing winger pieces that you really need to be able to make a difference. And you've got to change that culture that Lane's talking about. Like there is no other way around it. These guys just mentally, I don't know what it is. Every year it feels like it's the same conversation. And for once it feels like somebody's actually going to make a difference. And I'd hate to see them get lost in the details and lose out on making that culture change. Moving your goalie and having your goalie that's only going to play 40, 50 games and split the net isn't the difference maker we want right now. It's you need someone to set the tone, and that's a new center depth lineup. That's some new wingers. That's new voices in the room, and you've got to make some big swings. So I just can't see the goalie being the priority. If he's there, great, let's take it. But I don't think that's where they should focus their time.
And Alex, you're in our chat a lot. You remember? Does anyone here remember what I said after Game 3 of the second round? Does anyone remember? Because
I do.
I don't remember what happened 5 minutes ago, so remind me.
Jacob, what did I say?
You said when they lost Game 3, they were going to lose the series because this team just doesn't care.
And what did True Living say?
Liquor, Alex.
What True Living said, when he said, when they asked him about the Florida
no, it's liquor bottle.
Just some water.
When they asked him about the Florida series, and they said, what was the key game? Was it Game 5? He said, no. They said, well, Game 7? No. What was the key game? Game 3. Because he saw what I saw. He saw a team that when they lost, they had a multi-goal lead. Yes, I know Jake was going to say Joseph Woll. Yes, that was unfortunate that he didn't play the best game. But it's the way the team responded to the loss, right? It's like when you look at Edmonton, when they've lost the game at all in this playoffs, their face, they look like they're like, yeah, okay, cool. You got us tonight. We're going to get the next 6 in a row.
Yeah.
When Florida loses a game, they're literally, Paul Maurice is out there going, you know what? That goal we let in on the empty net goal, that was the worst goal we've ever let in. Like, they laugh at it. When the Leafs lose
Shotgun
a
and
game.
beers at church.
Yeah, but like when the Leafs lose, it's like, we lost a game. Mommy, where's my mommy? Like, what is with that attitude? Like,
my mommy's in the living room. In case you're
why is it that when you lose a game, it's like you got told that like you can't go on the school field trip? Like, I don't understand this. Like their mentality when they lose. Alex, do you agree with me? Like when they lose,
I hear you. To me, it's not even when they lose; it's when the goals start to go in. It's like you turn the tap on, and the sticks get tighter, and the body language gets more rigid, and then you start to see like even more mistakes. Like you look back at some of the plays, and I know 5 and 7 are terrible, but just in general, you look at that slow drip, and these guys it's 1, and then it's 2, and then it's, oh, maybe we don't have it. Oh, maybe they were right. Maybe everything's wrong. And it's just like the skeletons come out, and like there is no way that you can piecemeal a way to eliminate that. That has to be rooted out from the start. You've got to look at wholesale change. I mean, looping it back, like JT as a center, he's a great guy. I think he'd be a great asset to the team, but because of the culture thing, you got to move on, right? I think, Mitch, the fact that that's an opportunity, and I know rumor mill says there's still conversations, but I think the reality is you got to move on, right? Start to make that change. And the only way to do it is to actually root out some of these big guys that have been there too long.
So Lane brought up an interesting point then when we were off camera about Elliot Friedman said the Leafs are considering buying out bottom forwards in their lineup. I'll be honest, I think if you're talking DNA, I agree with you, Alex and Lane, that it's more the core guys that need to change. I'm going to keep this here. I think if it was reversed and it was Matthews and Nylander's contracts who were up, you'd be moving on from Matthews and Nylander. I don't know if it's so much. that Tavares and Marner are the problem, but they're not the solution, right? Now, mind you, I actually do think Mitch Marner's the problem. I'm just going to be very blunt on
100%.
that. I have not been a Mitch Marner fan for a very long time. I've always felt he was overpaid. Always felt he underworked. I even said this back in my old show, 705 Sports, up in Sault Ste. Marie. Dan Gray and I had a literally 15-minute argument, Marner versus Nylander. But I think with Toronto, when I brought up the move of Ottinger, I didn't mean to just get Ottinger and then just say, okay, you're done. I just mean upgrading goaltending is not a terrible idea, but I do agree with you guys. It doesn't fix your solution. Now, with Tavares, I think you let him walk. Marner, you let him walk. And it's just tough, though, because there's not a huge plethora of guys to, at least in free agency, that's available.
Well,
Like you could go get a Brock Besser. I mean, he still did get 50 points this year. And I think you'll be able to get him cheap. I think Brock Besser, you probably get at $4 million.
Well, that's the thing when it comes to John Tavares. I think with Marner, the reason why you're letting him walk is, for me, it's a dollar value. His attitude sucks, and he wants $14 million. And well, he probably is worth close to that.
I'm hearing more 13.5 than 14.
I think it's worth 12.5. That's the number I would sign him at. But
I'd
anything
sign him
over
at what he's at,
12.5, I would walk him. With John Tavares, I think on the open market he's worth about 8. He's not worth the 11 that he used to be. But on the open market, he's worth 8. So if he's willing to sign in Toronto for 6, I think that's a hometown discount. And if you get him at 6, you got room in a cap to bring in someone else to change the culture. So because where else are you going to get 30, 40 goals for $6 million at center?
I don't care.
I hear you, Dan. Yeah.
I don't care about winning the division or scoring the most goals. Good job, guys. No, let's worry
You score some goals in order to make the playoffs.
But I think, Dan, I hear you, man. But the reality is the team, I think you're right, Jacob. Like if we were in a different year and this was a different situation, maybe it is, we're looking at moving on from Willie and Mitch, or maybe it's Austin and Mitch, or a different mix of guys, right? But the reality is you need wholesale change. 2 guys are available to do that. I think you have to move both. There's not another way to make enough of an impact to the guys that have been running the show for so long. Right? You've done every coach, you've tried GMs, you've tried presidents, you've moved every piece around them, right? Every single pawn, every single piece. I think you've got 2 of them available right now, as much as it's going to suck, and they may even take a step back, right? Mm-hmm. I fully expect them to, right? You're going to overpay for a couple of centers and a winger that replaces Mitch, and you're never going to get full value. You got to do it just for the sake of trying anything else.
Now, there's been a very interesting conversation, and I didn't talk to you guys about this beforehand, but surprise noodle. The 2025-2026 free agency is a lot stronger than this one. Do the Leafs try to just put together a team for this year, and do they hold off? Like, legitimately, I want to read you guys the list. Now, these are obviously this will change. Number 1, Connor McDavid could potentially be available next season. I don't think he will be, but I'm just putting it out there. Kyle Connor.
Yeah.
Jack Eichel. Terry Panarin. Martin Necas. Kempe. Kopitar. Alex Tuck. Kaprizov. Evgeny Malkin. He'll probably just retire. Connor Garland. Mason Marchment. Cam Fowler if you want to improve some defense. Oh, we could bring back Michael Bunting. We love those Sault Ste. Marie lock-ins with the Leafs. Charlie Coyle. Like, I'm just reading off some of these names. Adam Lowry. And there's a lot of guys on this list. Now, mind you, and I've seen so many rumors saying that, Connor McDavid's coming to the Maple Leafs. No, he's not. Why would Edmonton let the greatest player they've had since Gretzky leave?
Like, but they trade Gretzky.
And then they won a Stanley Cup the next year because Mark Messier was the next greatest player since Gretzky.
I mean, if we're talking Kawhi, those are the kind of guys that you're targeting this offseason.
Yeah.
Right? That's the kind of move you're looking at.
Maybe you're calling
any of those teams who's taking a step back, who's looking to rejig their setup, who doesn't want to give these guys big money in a year? Who are we trading? Is there a couple of draft picks, maybe a couple of prospects that are down there, maybe a couple of roster players, right? Kampf on the move. Could it be Yarncroke on the move? Guys in the middle. You move on from them. You trade them out for one of these guys that's coming up on a UFA deal, and this is their prove-it year. And you put them in a position to succeed with the team. They're hungry. They know what the value is.
I like that.
And maybe there's an opportunity there. right?
Maybe
I mean, that's
LA
where you got to
about
focus.
you call LA about Kempe.
I'll
28
call
years
Winnipeg
old.
with Kyle Connor.
Plays both wings. He's got 35 goals, 38 assists, 73 points in 81 games. Averages just under a power play goal per game. Maybe this is the kind of guy. He's on a modified no moves. You got a chance to get him. And as much as this might hurt to see, you move a guy that everyone's like, wait, what? Like, I mean, there's been rumors about Morgan Riley on the move, which I don't see happening just to keep it 100.
I hope not.
Morgan Riley being traded.
I think Morgan Riley should be the captain.
And Morgan Riley doesn't want to be traded either. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, that's
But
been confirmed that no chance the Leafs approach Morgan Riley to waive no trade clause. There's like 0% chance.
But I'm saying maybe you do. I like Alex's thought. Do you pull a Kawhi Leonard situation and you call the LA Kings, who, by the way, are also desperately looking for change?
Absolutely. They need to do something.
That might be a match made in heaven.
Could they not sign a Marner instead to keep those guys down there?
They don't have enough cap space.
I think the thing is, even if they do, they're in the same mindset. I mean, they've lost Edmonton 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
It's time for them to make some drastic changes, right? They got to be looking at the locker room and going, clearly the mix here isn't doing the trick, and we need to adjust because they're running into the same guy every year. I feel like they're the West Coast Leafs right now. Same mentality, same mindset. Like, you have to make some changes there. So yeah, I mean, is Kempe it? I mean, Kopitar is well up there in age, but again, right, you're talking about attitude, determination, grit, personality. That's a great option.
See, now, Alex, I actually do agree with you. I think you could look at a trade. The only problem is with the way the Leafs have kind of done their situations here, and I showed it on the screen here, is their draft picks are not really that good, right? You don't have a first-round pick till at least 2028. You only have 2 seconds in 2025, 2027. You have 3 third-round picks. You only have 1 fourth in 3 years. You have 2 fifth-round picks in 2025, but then you're getting into fifth-round picks, 2026, 2027. Sixth round, you have 4 to play with, and you're 7. And not only that, you look at the draft picks, but you also got to look at who you can trade, right? And the thing with the Leafs is what they've done is, and here's the thing that Kyle Dubas has did and has put us in this situation. Anyone who has value to trade, he gave them no trade clauses. You can't even trade William Nylander. You can't trade Austin Matthews. You can't trade Morgan Riley. So all these guys that we could potentially be like, hey, let's actually go trade these guys and try to make a significant change to get a Kawhi. We can't even talk to these guys because they just go, nah, I want to stay. And I feel
Easton Cowan
and Nick Robinson.
No, Rick Robinson's going to be a trade. No. Easton Cowan, call Colorado, who had an epic fail, and say, we want Marty Necas, who's expiring next year. You have no depth in your minor league team either. We will give you Easton Cowan, who we think is a roster player now. Because let's be honest, I think the Leafs are at the point is we've already sold the farm. You may as well keep selling it.
100%.
And we'll give you Easton Cowan, Alex Steeves. I can't believe I'm saying this. Maybe move one of the defensemen. Move a Brandon Carlo, who didn't really work that well this year. And Dan, I know you're going to be furious at me for saying that, but you have to make there. This is the time to make that move. You call Colorado. You call Winnipeg on Kyle Connor, as you said, Dan. Go ahead on Kyle Connor, Dan.
I'll tell you who I'm going to call. I'm not even calling Winnipeg. I'm calling Calgary, and I'm going to give you whatever you want for Nazem Kadri, like that jersey at Alex.
Will not come back.
Yeah, he will.
So I got a question for Alex since he's on the show here, Alex. So I want your opinion because you're on the show here tonight, and I'm sure you're a Leaf fan like me. You're a passionate fan like me. Do you think not trading? Apparently the rumor was Mitch for Rantanen, right? And that got nicked because of no trade clause, right? But then the second rumor was, and I don't know if this was, but I've heard pretty much confirmed, was Matthew Knies for Mikko Rantanen. And you mentioned Kawhi Leonard trade. Was that their Kawhi Leonard trade and they didn't do it?
I mean, hindsight's hard, right? I think the reality is if you had an opportunity to get Mikko Rantanen, that's a conversation you at least had to have. I would argue that it was probably worth taking a swing. I mean, to me with Marner, you guys, the team signed the decision that we're walking him to free agency a year plus ago, right? When you locked up Willie in the middle of the season in a breakout year with the full no move and no opportunity to do anything else, that's the answer, right? We can't, because you're not going to keep them both. There's just no way. So at that point, you have to be comfortable with letting him walk, because he's not going to change his mindset. And so when that happens, I mean, yeah, I agree. Like, there's an opportunity for a very high level talent that could completely re-augment the team. And yeah, I think there may be some hindsight, a few more years down the road, you're kicking yourself for not taking advantage.
I'm showing you some stats why I'm not kicking myself about Mikko Rantanen. The third round, completely invisible.
Yeah.
Minus player in 4 to the 5 games. He only have a single goal this entire series. And Mikko Rantanen is a very good player. We joked that he was the Michael Jordan on skates.
I was going to say,
but besides against Colorado and a little bit against Winnipeg, Mikko Rantanen was very quiet. He had some huge games and some huge periods. But I think Mikko Rantanen is one of those guys that I wonder if Dallas is going to regret paying him $12 million 2 years down the road when he whines he doesn't want to play in Dallas anymore. Because he didn't want to play in Carolina, and let's be honest, he was a big baby about it.
He's like Mitch Marner.
System is going to be key with him, right? I mean, Carolina is not, and maybe, to your point, Berube's system is pretty specific.
It is.
Right? Do you see Berube's system and Brindamore's system in similar ways, where less guys are going out and putting out crazy numbers every single night, but a reality is, a few guys are contributing, you're doing just enough to win, and maybe that's not where Mikko should be. He did spectacular on a team with high-flying offense. So, I mean, yeah, that could be the case as well, but if you get to the point where Dallas takes another step, they're in the finals next year, they're back, they do anything, you may be kicking yourself.
I'll be honest, to me, I think Dallas this year was a fail. You lost 100%. In the third round again to Edmonton, and you lost in spectacular fashion. You won one period.
Losing Ottinger.
You won one period, right? And I understand why fans were upset when they heard we could have got Mikko Rantanen and we didn't. And if you could have moved Marner for him, I'm actually 100% for it. Moving Nyes, he's one of those guys that I think he will be like what we are with Kadri now, wishing he was still a part of the team. He is one of 4 players that scored at least 28 goals and had over 180 hits. He's a guy that can fight, he can skate, he can score. He's a heart and soul guy. He works harder than anyone else on and off the ice. I think it would have been a move that maybe, I'm even going to say it. I don't think Mikko Rantanen makes a damn difference against Florida because he's not part of the leadership group.
Right.
And we talked about how the DNA has to change. I don't think bringing in another superstar changes the DNA. Mikko Rantanen wouldn't be a leader on this team. You still have Matthews and Tavares there. And I think even though Matthews is technically the captain, we're still having Tavares on this lineup. I don't know if he feels like he's the captain still.
If I'm making a wheel move this offseason, I'm stripping the C off Matthews. I don't care who I'm giving it to. I'm giving it to Morgan Wiley. I'm giving it to nobody. Or just make a complete joke of it and give it to like Kelly Youngquo. But I am stripping the C off Austin Matthews 100%.
Chazzy, do you have enough popcorn for that take, or did you finish it already?
Oh, I just finished it.
You definitely need more popcorn for that take. Okay, so let's actually get into that. Do you guys think Austin Matthews was the right captain, and do you go for next year? I know, Dan, you obviously don't because you think he shouldn't even be in the NHL for some strange reason.
No, he's a great hockey player for Utah. For like some nobody market where no one cares, he'll get you 70 goals and he's fantastic. Anything minus of that, he's hopeless. And he proved it in 4 Nations too, and he will prove it again in the Olympics of Team USA.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I don't think you can make that change. I mean,
yeah, you can't.
At this point, that's the bed you're sitting in, right? You've made it, so you better lie down and get comfy because we are in. Either you're moving him off the team or you're keeping it. Those are the only 2 options as far as I'm concerned. There's no way.
Tavares, why not Captain Underpants?
But I think the difference is Tavares is up there in age. We all knew that the only reason JT ended up with that is because Austin made a bonehead move in Arizona the year that was supposed to go to him.
Yep.
They needed to put a letter on somebody. They said they were going to do it, similar to the we can and we will thing that Dubas does. He just likes to lock himself into impossible options. And so they said, look, we're going to have a center next year. Found out the guy they wanted wasn't up to it, probably never should be, and gave it to another guy who, and again, JT's a great guy. He's not a vocal leader. You're never going to see him pulling the same thing Connor did in the documentary last year, yelling at the team. we're not in the locker room, but that's just not the persona we get, right? And so I think, at this point, you're riding with him, and you're surrounding him with assistant captains who are saying that, right? If you went for Brad Marchand, if you went for Sam Bennett, if you went for guys who are loud, right? Ryan O'Reilly, guys who are loud.
Yeah,
that are willing to stand up.
Ryan O'Reilly, we're just going back in the past again. And Ryan
O'Reilly. No, but Ryan O'Reilly wanted to leave because of the leadership that we have. If I could make a trade for Ryan O'Reilly and get rid of some guys, I would 100% do it.
If I'm making a big trade and it's kind of the Kawhi Leonard trade, why not go to Buffalo and say, hello, you suck. I want Tage Thompson. Bring in another bona fide 50-goal scorer.
And Tage Thompson, you won't need a board your windows in Toronto. You can actually let the daylight in.
Oh, you're thinking of the Joffrey Lupul quote. For anyone who doesn't remember, Joffrey Lupul said he didn't like going to Buffalo because he was afraid to look out his window. If any of you guys remember Joffrey Lupul. But Lane, you're saying...
he was gorgeous, too.
You have an interesting take on a potential captain.
I'm just saying I know that it won't happen, but I want to go around the room, and especially when I ask Alex, what do you guys think about Chris Tanev being captain? You know, one of the guys who actually was pretty vocal about taking responsibility, especially in the playoffs, was Chris Tanev. You know, he was the first guy, in my opinion, in the last 7 years that actually was like, yeah, we suck.
Yeah.
Like, he actually said, he's like, we suck and we don't deserve to win. He was the...
I think you got...
You know what I mean?
You got 2 A's.
Yeah, for sure. Because like you said, you know, everyone else, Alex, how many times have we heard, especially the last few years, they make excuses about it, make up all these like, oh, we can, we will, we're close, we're there, we're here, we're not. But Tanev actually came out and said, no, we suck.
Yeah.
I think you got 2 A's, right? The reality is, if you're moving on from Marner and Tavares, you got two assistant options. Tanev's an obvious answer for at least one.
I would go.
Actually,
so here's an interesting thing about the leadership. Do you stop this nonsense of rolling assistant captains?
Absolutely. You got a core, and these are the guys. This is who we're looking to every game. No more wishy-washy.
As crazy as it sounds, if you want to give him 8x8, do you make Matthew Knives a captain?
No.
Maybe.
Stop with the young guys. The young guys.
McDavid was a young captain. Sidney Crosby was a young captain.
Sidney Crosby is a special breed.
So is Matthew Knives.
Quick shout out: the London Knights just won the Memorial Cup.
Wow.
Hey, I was right.
Alex, I am a little disappointed to see you cheering for the London Knights after how many times
I'm sorry.
Gary Colts.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
You got
to pick the next best. It's fine. It's fine.
Did John get any points tonight?
At the end of the day, it's a Leafs thing more than anything for me. Gavin McKenna is not on my radar right now.
Gavin McKenna did the only goal for the Medicine Hat Tigers. Medicine Hat did outshoot London 32-24.
Wow.
But it just came down to goaltending for London. Mr. Austin made 31 saves, which, by the way, Toronto has invited them to their free agent camp, an undrafted guy. Just as a quick note here, Easton Cowan did have a goal.
Nice.
Perfect. Again.
So
more importantly,
Easton Cowan showing he's got some big game ability.
Do you forgive him now for the junior championship?
Dan does
yes,
not.
I do. Whoa. Yes, I do.
Whoa.
Great
Yes,
goal.
I do. 100%. I said, if Easton Cowan, I said this when he lost Team Canada disaster. If Easton Cowan wants to be a Maple Leaf, he has to win the Memorial Cup. Nothing less. He got it done, and he got a goal. Mike, drop.
Woo! Stickers on the stickers on the podcast, everybody.
Hey, look, Mike, drop. It's done, boys. He's a Maple Leaf.
Bring the grit.
Passion. I don't have to bring the passion. I'm sorry. This is the closest I can come to.
But you know,
and just 5 minutes ago, you guys were trading them away.
Not now.
No, I'm not.
Hey, goal in the last game. That's trade value.
I'm sorry if I can bring in Tage Thompson and trade Easton Cowan. I'm doing it.
I'm not.
I am.
What about Carolina? I have to ask. There's some big questions happening down there right now. Yeah. They've got another roster, another year, similar disappointment. They made the third round, but very similar to the Leafs last year, they didn't make much noise, and I think you've got to shake it up down there, right? I mean, I can't see them trading Aho, but like, I don't know, is Kotkaniemi on the table?
Never did anything for
Do
me.
you trade Aho? No, but in all honesty, do you trade Aho?
Is it a conversation?
And does
Jordan
Toronto
Stahl's up there in
always be
age,
like-
but
and it's because Carolina's a weird one. Actually, Alex, since you're here, I can get your opinion on this. I'm excited. Did you hear Rob Brendamore's post game after that game?
I did. I don't even want to think about the way that all went down. Maurice
he
has
basically said, "My team sucks. You should be happy we got here."
I know, and I think at
everyone
some
else on
point
the island thinks that I'm overreacting because I'm like, that's just to me sounds like a coach that's just given up.
No, but you know what it actually sounded like to me? It sounded like the way he said it was like more like my team sucks, but I should be rewarded that we got here because it's all because of me. That's more like he basically said my GM is terrible, but I coached the team to the third round. Look at me.
It's the anti Paul Maurice who makes it about him in a way that it takes it off the players, and it feels like maybe there was just, the way it came out, it just did not land right. I mean, I don't know. Again, I mean, he's been there a while. That's an opportunity to make a change, right? Yeah, I know he's well loved by the fans most of the time, but at the end of the day, like the results aren't there. They're not. They're getting to almost to the dance, but they're not finishing it off. So
that was a
now,
weird-
mind you,
That's-
everyone. The $1 million question will be: if Rantanen wasn't a baby, does that team get past Florida?
He doesn't
That
play their
won't be the
style.
question, but at the same time, too, you do got to blame the GM for being like,
100%.
well, you brought me in a guy that didn't want to be here.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't talk to him.
He doesn't play their style. That's not
doesn't,
Rantanen's
you're right.
game.
Dan, you can't talk to the player. So the thing is, like, I mean, I know this does happen. I mean, let's be honest, tampering happens a lot. Let's not be ignorant. Whoa, people cheat.
No way.
Mind-blowing news. But I mean, I think it was one of those situations where, like, maybe they should have done more investigating, and maybe they should have tried to sneak a conversation in there. But
Okay.
but you're not supposed to talk to players.
Mr. Daskell, here's $1 million question.
So I don't have $1 million. I don't have $1 million. I'm kidding. What's
Here's
up,
the $5 question. Hopefully, you have
I don't have
$5.
that either. I don't know. I don't have that. I don't have a Looney. I don't have any. Just for making
The nickel question.
I
Nickel
don't have
back.
that either.
Nickel.
Lane? Lane,
How-
here you go.
Yeah.
You can have it.
How come Dallas got it done? Dallas did a sign and trade. How come Dallas got it done and Carolina couldn't?
I'll actually answer that, and
Okay.
I'll give you a good value for your nickel. Because the difference is Mikko Rantanen didn't want to leave Colorado, right? Like when he got traded to him, it was like, wait, what? You're like he thought it was April Fool's. Like
Yeah.
he straight up said when he got traded, he was like, you're funny, and they were like, no, you're serious. He was like, wait, what? Like they never went. So here's the problem with tampering. The way it's probably done is they'll go to the player and be like, so if we were to trade you, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. What are these teams that you? What's a city that you like playing golf in? And then he would say, well, I like playing golf in Florida. And they go, oh yeah, okay. Well, so then they'll trade a player, but they'll usually have these discussions before they trade a player, and be like, they'll try to try to at least figure out where he might want to go.
Mhm.
I feel like with Colorado, they just were like, well, we don't want to sign him to the $13 million, and Martin Necas is only $6 million, so we'll just make the trade. And because we can, he has no trade clause, so we can do whatever we want. And then they kind of traded him to a city that they didn't really have discussions with him. They put him in a city where he's like, I don't really want to play here, and I didn't like. No one came to me even discuss this with me, and even gave me an option. At least with Dallas, Carolina actually went to him and said, okay, we get you don't like us. Where are cities you'd play? And he said Dallas or Toronto. So then they know, okay, we can either trade you to Dallas or we can trade you to Toronto. And that's how this whole thing happened, where he couldn't go to Toronto because the Leafs wouldn't trade Nyes, and Mitch Martin declined. So Dallas was the other option. So Dallas gets to sign and trade. There's your answer for your nickel.
I like it. I like it.
Man, Lane,
It's good value for a
getting more
nickel.
for your money.
Hey, very good value. Yep.
Now, it is interesting though. The more I'm thinking about what Alex is saying about making a trade, the more I actually think it makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
So I did a quick search and I started looking at guys who are available in the trade market coming up, and there's some interesting names here. How about Zibanejad from the Rangers?
Not a bad idea.
They need a shakeup. They need a
Very good
shakeup.
center. I think could very easily center your second line.
Nah,
I think the question at this point though becomes
Patterson
what
from
what are we
Vancouver?
sending back?
definitely not Pedersen. He's
Cowan
worse
has
than
to be it.
underpants.
Cowan.
But then if that's the case, right? If Callan's your lead piece, Callan prospects, maybe a couple of roster guys that are deeper down the lineup, you got to be looking at teams that are on the way down.
Yeah.
If
Right?
I'm giving
Seattle.
up Easton Cowan,
Yeah.
Jared
I want
McCann, I'm
something-
just going to say it.
Yeah.
Oh, why did we not protect Jared McCann?
I know.
Keep Dustin Hall.
Because Kerfoot was worth more. Alex Kerfoot
No, they wanted to protect Justin
And
Hall.
Justin Hall.
and Justin Hall. Absolutely. Absolutely.
The thing
I
is,
heard-
I think that this is the challenge, right? They're in an awkward spot because there isn't, for my money, there isn't a team that looks extremely obvious is on the way down, knows they're on the way down. Like a team like Buffalo, Tage Thompson's a great example. That's a team that's on the way down, I think, in reality, and needs a bit of a retool. But they don't think they are. In their mind, they've got an opportunity here, and yeah, maybe.
Anaheim's got John Gibson. Anaheim's got
Trevor
a couple
Zegras.
guys. If I'm giving up Easton Cowan, I want someone better for Vincent Babcock and the other idiot you lined off, Pedersen. Yeah, I want someone way better for those two dumbass idiot people.
Like, is it New Jersey that's maybe in a bit of a midsection and looking for a
New Jersey.
retool?
No one in New Jersey you can possibly get. They all suck. I would go Pittsburgh.
Wants to play in
I
New
go
Jersey.
Anaheim or Pittsburgh.
Actually, when you talk Anaheim, I really like the idea of bringing in Trevor Zegras.
I like Alex Cahorn
I think,
at $6 million.
yeah, but Alex Cahorn doesn't fix your second line center problem. I think Trevor Zegras, putting Zegras and Nylander together, that's something that actually gets me excited.
Zegras, he scared me. He's a lot of skill. He's
Yeah.
another skill-based guy who when it's not going his way, I don't think he really knows how to play defense. And I feel like the Leafs really need a guy who can play a two-way game. Like, because I feel like Berube, he's going to want guys that go up and down the ice and battle hard, right? Like Alex said, it's almost like play styles, right? And I feel like I'm not trying to say Trevor Zegras isn't a great player. I'm sure he is, but he's all about these fancy plays and trying to make fancy passes.
Tying back in-
a bad example, but as much as I love Toronto's defense, I really do. Do you get Jacob Trouba from Anaheim? Jacob Trouba is
That's
a
not a-
captain, leadership
terrible
experience.
But you
shut
could
down
stack him.
defenseman, great physical. But there's someone that can really change the dressing room and the culture. Of
If
a
I'm
team.
doing that, I'm signing Aaron Ekblad.
It is the one. It's the one spot you could trade off the roster, though, right? You've got extra depth in D. So, I mean, we keep looking at the forward group and going, well, who are you going to give up to get a piece back, right? A big piece, right? If you're doing a Kawhi level trade, the one spot that got room is high level, second pairing, fringe first pair, depending on who you're talking about, defense guys, right?
The
So maybe
problem-
that is the play. Is it Carlo, right? I mean,
yeah.
again, is it ideal? No, but if you want to make a swing, especially with a trade, you don't have a lot of high-level forward talent that has movement. So who are you taking? And I think it's got to be those guys.
No move. There are only 3 team. You only give you a 3-team trade list.
The
Yee.
problem
tough.
is your defense is the one spot area you have all under contract, and my value
So?
for all under contract for very good value. Morgan Riley is top defenseman, 7.5, excellent, because most top defensemen nowadays are 9 to 10. Then you got Carlo at 4, you got Tanev at 4.5, McCabe at 4.5, OEL at 3.5, and Benoit at 1.3. You cannot find better value of any 6 defensemen anywhere in the NHL.
Now, OEL's got a modified no trade, but it's 16 teams.
Not bad.
Honestly,
That's lots of
and this
options.
is- and here's an interesting thing when you talk about depth in Toronto. I think Philip Myers is an NHL defenseman on a bottom pairing.
Yeah.
For you, Dan, you go be all you want. He is.
It's
So-
I think at some point you have to.
Yeah.
You move a guy like OEL and Easton Cowan and go get Tage Thompson. Like I'm going to keep harping this Tage Thompson thing, even though there's zero rumors or speculation about Tage Thompson. I don't care. I want Tage Thompson. I want him in my living room. I will go to my favorite grocery store and get him some really good chicken strips, what we had for dinner, and I will get Tage Thompson.
Can you bring me those chicken strips, Jacob?
You can go over Zarkies. Zarkies.
Elaine, you mentioned something that makes me want to throw up my chicken strips earlier.
Yeah, we gotta get into this.
And it's Mitch Marner potentially staying in Toronto.
Yeah, there's a lot of rumors, and we got to get into these because Mitch Marner's definitely one of the talk of towns. He's a top UFA free agent, so we got to get into this. So
nothing over 12 and a half.
So the report is
nothing over his current contract. Forget 12 and a half.
Mitch Marner has a list of 7 or 8 teams he's looking at, including Vegas, LA, San Jose, Columbus, Anaheim, and apparently, just because he wants to torture some more, still has a little bit of the door open for the Toronto Maple Leafs. How much does that terrify everyone in the room that he's still playing?
My face if Marner comes back.
Yeah.
Lane, hit me with that list again. Anaheim, Columbus.
So, yeah, the list. So 7 or 8 teams. I haven't listed all the teams, but here's the teams that are on the list that's confirmed. Vegas, the Los Angeles Kings, the San Jose Sharks. No, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Vegas, Los Angeles Kings, San Jose Sharks, Columbus, Anaheim are prepared to make big deals. Chicago's on the list. Carolina's on the list. And, of course, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Because he said.
So of those 8, 4 of them are teams that can pay him the sun and the moon.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what does he want to do here?
The thing is, Mr. Dasko, you brought up a great point off camera about Las Vegas, but I didn't know about. So
Yeah,
I don't think Las Vegas should be on that list.
Let's talk about that. So then this is the next rumor. So apparently last summer, which I didn't know this because everyone blamed Treliving at the deadline saying, well, he didn't try to make a trade for Mitch Marner going into his no trade prediction. But actually, that is not the truth. According to a lot of resources and Elliot Friedman here, the Leafs actually did make a trade for Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner was reportedly traded to the Vegas Golden Knights before the draft. Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts said the trade was a straight-up trade for the Vegas Golden Knights to discuss Mitch Marner going for Shea Theodore. The Vegas Golden Knights laughed in their face and said, funny joke. That's They did that and said, you guys are comedians. And if you want to see Shea Theodore play, well, our games start at 10 o'clock, so buy a subscription. What do we think of that?
So I think that just tells me there's no way in HE double hockey sticks that Marner goes to Vegas. Although I know
they called him a crybaby, basically.
I don't know though, because I mean, you look at where Kadri is right now. I'm wearing the jersey and everything. Like that guy was very adamant. I don't want Calgary. I don't think the trade back and forth was going to happen either. Different offseason, different position, different focus. Right, another year of failure, another position where he was. If he's trying to make his money and have a shot at a cup at the same time, I mean, Vegas loves to pay these guys crazy money. You get 2 or 3 years and then you're out the door to whatever other team they feel like they want to move you to. So maybe it is an option.
And this maybe sounds really weird, but I'm going to bring a very weird comparison when we're talking Marner, we're talking moves about Vegas, and we're talking all these things. Does Toronto need to take a book from what another team in Toronto does, and not just the Raptors? But I want to bring up the Argos a little bit here. Mm-hmm. Everyone's scratching their head about them cutting Kadeem Carey. Everyone was scratching their head before when they made other moves. I'm going to point out to my Ricky Ray jersey. Everyone said he was too old. He was washed up, blah, blah, blah. And they went and made the big move anyways. Everyone questioned when they went and got McLeod Bethel Thompson. Everyone questioned then when they let go of McLeod Bethel Thompson. And maybe you need to stop worrying about what the fan base is going to question and just make a damn move.
True.
And
Thomas Hertl.
Oh, man.
I throw a name out there. I'm throwing a name out. It's the kind of thing, but that's the age that True Living likes to trade for. Those guys in their early 30s, right? I mean, his contract's not terrible. Maybe it's partially retained. Vegas has a habit after a couple of years of moving on from guys that maybe aren't doing it. I'm not saying there's no sign option or trade option that's there cleanly with Mitch, but I mean, it could be something, right? Guys
From
at that
what
level.
I've heard, Mitch Marner will not do a sign and trade.
Yeah,
Which is
so
very disappointing.
There's no value. Yeah.
yeah, because
Well, the value is you could get an extra year on
Yeah,
the
but nobody cares
contract, but I don't think Marner cares about that.
and that's what they basically they basically said on the radio. That Chris Johnson and Darren Dreger both collaborated on this on TSN 1050. That at least want to do a sign and trade to get some value, like maybe Thomas Herta back, but obviously Mitch Marner doesn't care about the year contracts because, like Dan had brought up previously when we started here, the cap goes up so much every year. Like, why do I need an 8-year contract when I can sign 7 years, be 1 year younger, and get an extra $12 million instead of only getting $14 million and instead of getting 6, I can get 12, because at that time, a 6 million now is going to be 13.5 million in 8 years from now.
Yeah, exactly.
I just think when we talk about though teams that want to make a shakeup, could you call Washington?
Oh, Tom
What?
Wilson.
Also an option. There you go.
Could we get the crying face
Wilson!
himself and Tom Wilson? Like in all seriousness,
That's not a bad
100%.
idea.
Good boy.
I don't know who you'd maybe send Max Domi the other way.
Yeah.
I want to keep Domi, to be honest.
Okay, but the thing is, I want to keep DeMar DeRozan, and this never really fully clicked in my head until Alex brought up that point about the DeMar DeRozan trade. I hated that trade. Alex, I'm sure you remember me calling you. I was pissed.
Mm-hmm.
I was mad. If I remember right, you were kind of put off too at the time.
There was a gamble you were taking, right? You don't know what you're going to get. And again, I think, maybe that is the play. There's got to be somebody out there that is disgruntled. Maybe they aren't loving the situation they're in. Maybe they're getting overpaid, right? Now's the time.
To me,
Why don't call Minnesota and get Kaprizov at that point?
I don't think Minnesota's going to trade. Wow, I just said I don't think they will. He's only got 1 year left.
Matthew.
He's got 1 year left on his deal. Minnesota is disappointing every single time. Kaprizov's really proven that he is a dominant player, and everyone hates him because he's Russian. So why not get him?
See, to me,
this is going to sound crazy. Do you move Matthew Nyes before you sign him and try to get Kaprizov?
I would give up Matthew Nyes to Kaprizov.
He's your DeRozan, right?
He's your DeRozan.
Yeah,
he's your DeRozan that's movable.
Yeah.
Yep. He's the guy. You're
going to trade the one player I would do it for.
Now, I'm curious here. Craig has been so quiet. I almost forgot he was on the show. Craig, how crazy do you think we are right now?
Out to lunch.
The 2025 Stanley Cup playoffs are not even over yet, and we're stuck in Maple Leaf. So I'm just sitting back enjoying the entertainment.
I think I got a popcorn.
I gotta be honest with you, Craig. I kind of agree. Like I even said, we're too early to talk about this, but
it is never too early. You do right. We're going to do multiple shows like this about
this market loves this. This is all we talk about.
Exactly,
start to finish. Come on, all year, all day. You know what we should really be concerned about? Matthews in a few years when he's up for another contract that we
I'll be so happy with.
We're getting there. We're already halfway there.
Let's talk about it right now. I'm very concerned. I'm being serious. I'm actually very concerned because, like I said earlier in the show, when I was ranting and raving, screaming my head off, there's a very good possibility in 3 years he's going to be like, if this team is still diddling around in the second round and not doing anything else, there's 100% see Matthews being like, yeah, I'm gone too. I'm not coming back to this. And you can't trade him. So you're stuck in the same boat 3 years from now, which is why I'm scared when we're talking about all these free agents and who we should go get and how many years. I'm like, we should maybe chill on these years because in 3 years, we may not have our franchise, our franchise number one center who's coming back, who's leaving on free agency. Like, I think we really need to be careful with this 3 years here and kind of play it as if we have a team for 3 years. I wouldn't do any signing for 6 years or 8 years because you don't know what your team's going to be in 3 years. In 3 years, you could be looking at a whole rebuild. So I wouldn't be rushing to sign a Brock Nelson for 7 years when in Matthews in 3 years could do the same thing that Marner's doing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Now, mind you, when I say Brock Nelson, I don't think it's a 7-year deal.
No, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be careful.
I do get what you're saying. So maybe then you do look at guys like Matthew Nyes, and maybe you do just try. My worry is for you do Nyes to a 3-year deal and he keeps progressing. It's going to be like, do you remember? No, hear me out for a sec. Do you remember before we signed William Nylander, he wanted 8 years at 9.5, and everyone in Toronto said no. He had an incredible year, incredible playoffs. Then we paid him 11.5. That is my worry with Matthew Nyes. Now I understand we're not. Let's be honest, Leafland we're not thinking 5 years ahead of now because we're trying to win a Stanley Cup now. If anything, I would almost argue the window was closed.
It is pretty much. It
With
almost
this
is.
Right? Because we're talking Tavares is gone. We're talking Marner's gone. Lane says Marner might come back. If Marner comes back, I might just become a Flames fan full time. I don't know. But
When's Atlanta coming in? I'll move. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
But boys,
Yeah.
I think it's time we sign off for the night as my jaw's getting a little sore. I'm not going to lie. It's been a lot of talking.
Oh, boy.
No inappropriate jokes about a sore jaw. It's
gonna
the
say.
PG program. But you know, it gets to the point when Dan looks like he's huffing his name key up his nostrils, and it's time to call it a night. So I want to thank everyone for joining the show. For anyone who's just joining in now and they're like, "Oh, I missed the show," we're gonna post this episode on Spotify.
Well, people are
as
still
well.
there. We can keep talking.
But I'm just saying, we're going to post this full episode on Spotify, right? So that way you can also enjoy this conversation. And let's be honest, we're not done talking Maple Leafs. We'll probably have a sit rep in a couple weeks. How's everyone feeling? Because that's
Yeah,
just what
probably.
Leaf Nation does. We like to overanalyze to the point that we need more and more painkillers to get through the day. I'm Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed sports
Cassie's eating more
analyst.
popcorn.
Yeah, man.
I want to thank Alex, our friend of the program, for joining the show. today.
Yeah.
Great job, Alex. Great
Great
to have you
job,
on.
Alex.
Glad to be here, guys.
Didn't know you were going to get a round of applause.
Thanks.
That's great. We also have Mr. Lane Dashing Dashko, the dashingest of them all. Screw Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. We have Mr. More for your money. Woo! And of course, we have Chazzy, the CEO, who puts the capital E in CEO. 5.33 new update on its way. Just like the Streakers app, brand new update on its way. So make sure you
Download it.
Thank you very much for watching. We will see you guys at some point. Schedule
Bye-bye.
pending. We'll be releasing a weekly schedule and potentially a new summer schedule. So stay
Not
locked.
potentially. It's definitely happening.
And I'm trying to keep them on suspense. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.